The classic Marvel vs. Capcom games are back. The Marvel vs. Capcom franchise, even though a lot of their games aren't actually called Marvel vs. Capcom, was one of the biggest fighting games of the 90s and early 2000s. It was one of the earliest examples of famous crossover media, and in a move that surprised everybody, they're announcing that all of these classic games are coming back as a bundle. The Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Game Collection Arcade Classics. Rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? Hi, Internet Wanderer. My name's Argonax. I make video reviews, essays, commentaries, and shorts. I hope you enjoy my content enough to do the YouTube things. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. Watch these fighting game YouTubers lose their minds over this shit.
Seven arcade games featuring Marvel and Capcom characters are fighting their way onto Nintendo Switch as one collection.
What?
Flash and X-Men vs. Street Fighter.
Ah, what's up?
Duke it out in Marvel vs. Capcom 2, New Age of
What am I
Heroes.
fucking looking at?
Dude, they giving us the bangers, bro. They giving us the bangers, bro. Oh, take my money.
Bro. Hey, we got the new splash art, Cyclops and Ryu shaking hands once again. All right, and it's coming to multiple platforms.
It's slated to be released this year on PlayStation, Switch, and on Steam. Oddly enough, it's not going to be available for PS5. It's going to be available for PS4, but then again, the PS4 is backwards compatible with PS5, so my previous point's invalid. This new collection is going to feature a lot of new modernizations to the franchise. I made a video about a month ago or so that was talking about the fighting games of my childhood, and in it, I covered the Marvel vs. Capcom games, specifically 1 and 2. I won't repeat everything that I said there. You can go watch it for yourself if you want, please. But for those who don't want to waste their time, here's the too long didn't watch. The franchise is known for its amazing art and sprite work. It's got one of the best fighting game music in the industry. Look at this clip from my fighting game video. This was actually the first fighting game that I would boot up just to listen to the soundtrack. And speaking of art, these tracks are iconic and I still listen to them today. I'm willing to bet that this franchise also taught a lot of people about the greater Marvel universe and its characters. Probably sparked a lot of interest in comic books. It certainly did for me. It also taught me that Psylocke and Cammy are baddies, goddamn. And to my knowledge, it's one of the earliest examples of popular crossover media. I even made this joke in my video that I think still applies here. Remember when Avengers Infinity War came out? All the normies were talking about how this was the greatest crossover Marvel has ever done? Motherfucker, Marvel already did that in the 90s. It has a huge and varied roster, one of the biggest actually for the time. Definitely one of the greatest fighting games ever made. Actually, no, it's one of the greatest game franchises ever made, period. The bundle is gonna come included with 7 games, which in order are X-Men, Children of the Atom, Marvel Superheroes, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom, Clash of Superheroes, and the crown jewel, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, New Age of Heroes. The last one, MVC2, is definitely the reason I'm buying this bundle, that's for damn sure. It's been like 20 and a half years since this game came out, and even now, it still has an extremely dedicated player base, who for a long time had to go through so many hoops just to play these games. Not just Marvel vs. Capcom 2, but the franchise as a whole, as these games were in limbo for a long time. The older Marvel vs. Capcom games were only accessible via the old consoles or through emulating, and thus playing online was a Herculean task. But now, all that hassle is now gone with the promise of this new game. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 was actually one of the PlayStation 2 system sellers, as well as being a launch title. A lot of people were looking forward to it back then, and over 20 years later, people are still looking forward to it now. Fighting games have been on the rise lately, with high-profile releases last year. and this year as well, with each of the big three, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, and Tekken, making mainline games. There's also been a ton of smaller games as well. Guilty Gear is apparently getting its own show, Multiversus just got re-released, 2XKO's development is coming along nicely, I still hate the name, goddammit Riot, and now Marvel vs. Capcom is back? Fighting game players are eating good if you ask me. For quite some time, the franchise wasn't in the best place, with the last mainline game being Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, which was definitely one of the games of all time. It wasn't good. Goofy ass, jacked Spider-Man looking motherfucker. With that game's underwhelming release, many of the player base just went back to playing Marvel vs. Capcom 2 or 3. And while Marvel vs. Capcom 3 is a topic for another day, if this goes well and Capcom sees the potential in this franchise, we can probably see a Marvel vs. Capcom 3 re-release or remaster sometime soon. Hell, if all of this goes really well, then we can probably look forward to a mainline game actually, because we need to wash out the fucking stain of that Infinite game. People have been emulating these games for way too long. Actually, the topic of emulation is a contentious one. A lot of people like to think of it as this morally gray thing that you can do. There are ways that you can emulate legitimately, but you can only do that by buying copies of the game on eBay or somewhere else online, which are not cheap by any means. Prior to this bundle being announced, Marvel or Capcom had no official way to buy these games. So unless you were willing to shell out a shit ton of money just to buy an old disc, most people who emulated these old games got digital copies online, which, the legality of which is questionable at best. Not that I personally give a shit. I say, if a game can't be found legitimately, it's the only way to do it. But from a legal standpoint, I can understand why people see this as a morally gray conundrum. And thus, because people had to emulate these games through unofficial channels, there's a lot of jury rigging and MacGyvering that you have to do just to play these games, especially online. This is nothing new. Illegitimate emulating happens all the time, to other game companies, not just Capcom, Nintendo. So having an official and accessible way to play these old games is a godsend. And who knows, maybe if there's enough interest in Marvel vs. Capcom, Capcom might finally become interested in making a new mainline game. We can only hope. I'm extremely excited to revisit these old games, especially Marvel vs. Capcom 2. My boy, Cyclops, I'm back. These games are just so feature-rich, and I can't wait to dip my toes back into it. Thanks for watching, Internet Wanderer. Do the YouTube things. Can't wait to learn an infinite combo.
Yo, you wanna learn how to do a fucking infinite? I'ma teach you motherfucking bitch ass. Easiest shit in the motherfucking Marvel 3. Marvel 2. Fuck it. I don't give a fuck. Let's start this motherfucker off right. Ow, 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 ow. Drop that shit. Redo it, motherfucker. Ow, ow. How's it taste? Keep the rhythm up. If you fuck up the rhythm, the motherfucking combo will drop, motherfucker. Keep that motherfucking shit up. You keep that thing.
Now, let's be real. I'm the one who's gonna be on the receiving end of an infinite. Oh god, no, not that infinite. Get it away!